Have you ever looked at someone you loved for 16 years, and suddenly realized they wanted you dead? What would you do if your wife smiled at you during breakfast, poured you coffee, and secretly planned your funeral at the same time? And what if the biggest mistake she made was failing? Because this is the story of a husband who survived the perfect betrayal. And once he learned the truth, everything changed. Nathan Carter sat alone at his kitchen table. The morning sun came through the window, but the light did nothing to warm the cold feeling growing inside his chest. Several papers were spread out in front of him. At first glance they looked ordinary. Just more mail. Just more documents. But they weren't ordinary. Not even close. Every page carried his wife's signature. Sophia Carter. The woman he had loved for 16 years. The woman he trusted more than anyone. Nathan stared at her careful handwriting. Then he looked at the document title again. Property Transfer Agreement. His stomach tightened. 3 days earlier, Sophia had signed ownership of their house to her brother, Derek Lawson. Not temporarily. Not for a few months. Forever. Nathan slowly turned another page. The transfer was permanent. The home he had worked 12 years to pay for. The home where they raised their daughter. The home he repaired with his own hands. Would soon belong to Derek's company. Nathan leaned back in his chair. The silence in the kitchen felt heavy. That morning, Sophia had acted completely normal. She had sat across from him drinking coffee while scrolling through her phone. When he asked about the papers, she barely looked up. It's just for tax reasons, she had said. Derek thinks it will save money. Then she changed the subject. At the time, Nathan wanted to believe her. Now he knew she had lied. The entire thing was a lie. And somehow that hurt more than the papers themselves. His phone buzzed. A text message. From Sophia. Working late again. Don't wait up. Nathan stared at the screen. The same message. Again. The third time this week. The fourth time this month. Maybe more. Lately there was always a meeting. Always an emergency. Always a reason she couldn't come home. Yet she somehow arrived after midnight smelling like expensive cologne. Not her perfume. Cologne. Nathan slipped the phone into his pocket. Then he walked downstairs into the basement. The old furnace hummed softly in the corner. The familiar sound calmed him. For 16 years, Nathan had worked industrial maintenance. Boilers. Pressure systems. Mechanical repairs. Machines made sense to him. Machines followed rules. People didn't. Especially the people closest to you. He stood there listening to the furnace. Listening to the steady rhythm. And deep inside he felt something was wrong. Very wrong. Like pressure building inside a sealed tank. Sooner or later, something was going to explode. The next morning Nathan arrived at work. The old steel mill had been converted into luxury apartments. Young professionals paid huge amounts of money to live where factory workers once earned honest paychecks. Nathan always found the irony amusing. Man, you look terrible. The voice came from across the room. It belonged to Victor Hayes. His co-worker. His friend. A man who had spent 25 years fixing industrial equipment. Victor walked over carrying a toolbox. Didn't sleep? He asked. Nathan forced a smile. Not much. Victor studied him carefully. Marriage trouble? Nathan shrugged. Something like that. Before Victor could answer, Nathan looked at the pressure gauges. Immediately something caught his attention. The readings looked wrong. Too high. Far too high. His eyes narrowed. That's strange. Victor walked over. What is? Nathan pointed. The pressure should be lower. Victor frowned. Maybe the sensor is bad. Maybe. But Nathan wasn't convinced. Something felt off. Very off. Victor sighed. Listen, I've been divorced twice. Let me tell you something. Nathan glanced at him. When a wife starts making decisions without telling her husband. Victor paused. That usually means trouble. Nathan gave a tired laugh. Thanks. Very comforting. I'm serious. Victor lowered his voice. When people start hiding things, they're already planning their next move. Before Nathan could answer, everything exploded. A deafening boom shook the room. The main valve burst. A wall of steam erupted outward. The force threw Nathan through the air. His body slammed into concrete. Pain exploded through his arm. His vision blurred instantly. Steam filled the room. Alarms screamed. People shouted. Somewhere in the chaos he heard Victor yelling. Nathan! The world spun. His ears rang. He tried to move but couldn't. Everything hurt. The last thing he saw before darkness swallowed him was Victor kneeling beside him. Victor's face looked terrified. And then he heard words that chilled his blood. This wasn't an accident. Nathan blinked weakly. Victor leaned closer. Someone rigged it. Everything faded. But one final sentence followed him into unconsciousness. Someone wanted you dead. Nathan woke up in a hospital room. His arm was wrapped in bandages. His head pounded. The bright lights hurt his eyes. For a moment he couldn't remember what happened. Then everything rushed back. The explosion. The steam. Victor's warning. Someone wanted you dead. Nathan stared at the ceiling. His heart beat faster. Was Victor right? Could someone actually have planned it? The door opened. Sophia walked inside. She carried flowers. A small smile sat on her face. But something felt strange. Cold. Distant. Almost fake. She set the flowers down. How are you feeling? Nathan watched her carefully. Sore. I'm glad you're okay. She checked her phone. A few minutes later she checked it again. Then again. Nathan noticed every time. She stayed less than 20 minutes. Before leaving she kissed his forehead. The gesture felt empty. Like a performance. Like something she thought she was supposed to do. I have an important meeting, she said. I'll come back soon. Then she left. Nathan watched the door close. The room suddenly felt colder. That evening Victor arrived. Unlike Sophia, he looked genuinely concerned. He sat beside the bed and handed Nathan a coffee. The doctor said you're lucky. Nathan nodded. Tell me what happened. Victor's expression darkened. I went back and checked everything. Nathan waited. Victor leaned forward. The pressure release valve was tampered with. Nathan felt his stomach drop. You sure? I'm positive. Silence filled the room. Nathan swallowed hard. Who had access? A lot of people. Victor rubbed his chin. But here's the scary part. Nathan looked up. Whoever did it knew you'd be checking that system. A chill moved through him. What are you saying? I'm saying this wasn't random. Victor's eyes locked onto his. It was personal. Nathan couldn't sleep that night. The ceiling tiles blurred above him. Thoughts raced through his head. The house transfer. The late nights. The lies. Now the explosion. The pieces were beginning to connect. And he hated the picture they were creating. 2 days later, Nathan returned home. The house looked exactly the same. But somehow it felt different. Like something invisible had changed. Sophia greeted him at the door. For the first time in months she seemed unusually happy. She cooked his favorite dinner. Asked detailed questions about his injuries. Filled his water glass before it was empty. The attention felt strange. Too much. Too sudden. Almost forced. The doctor said you were lucky, Sophia said. Nathan nodded. I guess so. She stared at him. If you had been standing a little closer. Her sentence faded away. Nathan noticed something odd. She didn't sound scared. She sounded relieved. The thought sent ice through his veins. That night he couldn't sleep. So he went downstairs to his workshop. The basement had always been his escape. Whenever life became confusing he worked with his hands. Tools made sense. Wood made sense. Metal made sense. People didn't. He organized equipment for nearly an hour. Then something caught his attention. An electrical outlet near the wall. Nathan frowned. He had never noticed it before. Strange. He knew every inch of this basement. Every shelf. Every pipe. Every wire. Yet somehow he couldn't remember seeing that outlet. He walked closer. The cover looked newer than everything around it. Cleaner. Different. His heartbeat quickened. Slowly he grabbed a screwdriver. Removed the faceplate. And froze. A tiny lens stared back at him. No larger than a pinhead. A hidden camera. For several seconds Nathan couldn't breathe. His mind struggled to process what he was seeing. Someone had installed a camera inside his own house. Someone had been watching him. Recording him. Tracking him. Learning his schedule. His habits. His routines. His movements. Nathan carefully removed the device. His hands trembled. The camera sat in his palm. Small. Simple. Deadly. Because suddenly everything made sense. Someone knew exactly where he'd be at work. Someone knew exactly when he'd inspect that valve. Someone knew exactly how to create the perfect accident. Nathan slowly sat down. The basement felt silent. Too silent. He thought about Sophia asking questions during dinner. He thought about the property transfer. The late nights. The secret phone calls. The cold visits at the hospital. Then a horrifying truth hit him. She hadn't been checking on his recovery. She had been checking whether her plan worked. Nathan stared at the tiny camera. The realization hurt more than the burns on his arm. More than the concussion. More than the betrayal itself. The woman he loved. The woman he trusted. the mother of his daughter, had likely tried to murder him. For money. For freedom. For another man. A normal person might have cried. Might have screamed. Might have fallen apart. Nathan did none of those things. Instead, a slow smile appeared on his face. Because Sophia believed he knew nothing. She believed he was still confused. Still trusting. Still blind. She had no idea her secret was exposed. No idea he was finally seeing the truth. And that truth changed everything. Nathan looked at the hidden camera one last time. Then carefully slipped it into his pocket. The game had started. Only one player knew the rules had changed. And for the first time since the explosion, Nathan Carter felt completely awake. Nathan Carter did not tell anyone about the hidden camera. Not even Victor. Not yet. Some secrets were too important to share before the right moment. Especially when your enemies believed they were winning. Every morning Nathan acted normal. He went to work. He spoke politely to Sophia. He ate dinner with his family. He smiled when necessary. But behind that calm face something had changed. He was watching. Listening. Learning. And every day the truth became uglier. The first thing Nathan discovered was the life insurance policy. 6 months earlier, Sophia had taken out a large policy on him. A very large one. Far larger than anything they actually needed. At first, he tried convincing himself there was an innocent explanation. Maybe financial security. Maybe future planning. Maybe protection for their daughter. But then he remembered the explosion. The hidden camera. The house transfer. And suddenly the insurance policy looked very different. Looked like motive. The second thing he discovered hurt even more. Sophia wasn't working late. She was spending time with another man. A man named Brandon Cole. 42 years old. Chief operating officer at the hospital. Divorced. Wealthy. Arrogant. The type of man who thought money made him smarter than everyone else. Nathan had met him twice at hospital events. Brandon always wore expensive suits. Always talked about success. Always acted like ordinary people barely existed. Now he was sleeping with Nathan's wife. And apparently helping her destroy Nathan's life. Nathan started gathering information. Carefully. Patiently. Every move mattered. Every detail mattered. He couldn't afford mistakes. His enemies certainly hadn't. He rented a storage unit across town. Paid cash. Used a different name. Then he bought an old pickup truck from a private seller. Nothing fancy. Nothing noticeable. The perfect vehicle for someone who didn't want attention. Every step had a purpose. Every preparation brought him closer to the truth. Meanwhile, Sophia continued acting like a loving wife. Sometimes she even seemed happier than before. That alone told Nathan everything. People planning murder didn't expect their victim to survive. She thought the hardest part was over. She thought she had escaped consequences. She was wrong. One evening Nathan found something else. Something that made his blood boil. He was checking mail when he noticed a large envelope addressed to Sophia. The return address belonged to a law firm. His pulse quickened. He carefully opened it. Inside were divorce papers. Already prepared. Already completed. Already waiting to be served. Nathan slowly sat down. His hands tightened around the pages. Sophia wanted half of everything. The house. The savings. The retirement accounts. Even spousal support. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was their daughter. Sophia wanted full custody of 16-year-old Lily. Nathan stared at the words. His vision blurred with anger. Not because of the divorce. That part no longer surprised him. It was the lies. The manipulation. The way she planned every detail while pretending to be a devoted wife. And then he saw something even worse. The separation date. It had been changed. Backdated. Months earlier. A fake date designed to help Sophia keep more money. A fake date designed to protect her from legal consequences. A fake date designed to steal from him. Nathan folded the papers carefully. Then he smiled. Because those documents proved something important. Sophia had already decided his future. She simply forgot to ask his permission. That night, he sat across from Lily during dinner. Sophia claimed she had another meeting. So it was just the two of them. For a while, neither spoke. Then Lily finally looked up. Dad. Nathan smiled. Yeah. Can I ask something? Of course. She hesitated. Then took a deep breath. Are you and Mom getting divorced? Nathan froze. The question hit harder than expected. He looked into his daughter's eyes. She already knew something was wrong. Teenagers noticed more than adults realized. What makes you ask that? He said gently. Lily pushed food around her plate. Mom's been acting weird. Nathan remained silent. She continued. She's always hiding her phone. Another pause. And Uncle Derek keeps asking strange questions. Nathan frowned. What kind of questions? Lily looked uncomfortable. Questions about money. Nathan's heartbeat increased. What else? She swallowed. He asked if you ever talked about moving away. Nathan stared at her. Even Derek was dragging Lily into the mess. The realization made him sick. Then Lily reached into her backpack. I found something. Nathan watched as she pulled out a receipt. His stomach tightened. Where did you get that? Mom's car. Nathan took it. One glance was enough. An insurance office. Policy amendment. Beneficiary update. The date was 3 days after the explosion. 3 days. Nathan felt cold. Very cold. He continued reading. The beneficiary had been changed. Before the accident, Lily would have received the money. After the accident, Sophia became the sole beneficiary. Nathan slowly lowered the paper. Everything suddenly became crystal clear. His wife wasn't planning for the future. She was preparing for his death. And she wanted every dollar. After Lily went upstairs, Nathan sat alone in the dark kitchen. The receipt rested on the table. The hidden camera sat beside it. The divorce papers lay nearby. 3 pieces of evidence. 3 pieces of the same puzzle. The picture was impossible to ignore now. His wife had betrayed him. Her brother helped her. Her lover supported her. And together they tried to erase him. Nathan looked around the quiet house. The walls seemed different now. Almost unfamiliar. As if he were standing inside a stranger's home. For 16 years he built this life. Worked overtime. Missed holidays. Fixed broken appliances. Paid bills. Made sacrifices. Everything for his family. And now the people he sacrificed for wanted him gone. The pain was enormous, but strangely, the anger was bigger. The following week, Nathan followed Sophia. Not every day. Just enough to confirm what he already suspected. Monday, hospital. Then dinner with Brandon. Tuesday, hospital. Then Brandon's condo. Wednesday, the same. Again. And again. And again. The affair wasn't new. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't confusion. It was a full relationship. A secret life. One Sophia had carefully built behind his back. Nathan watched from a distance. Never approaching. Never confronting. Not yet. Patience mattered. The truth always revealed itself when people became comfortable. And Sophia was very comfortable. Brandon was even worse. The man practically advertised his arrogance. He posted everything online. Expensive meals. Luxury watches. Vacation photos. Business meetings. Cocktail parties. He wanted everyone to admire him. The problem with arrogant people was simple. They believed they were untouchable. Nathan knew better. Everyone had weaknesses. Everyone. You just needed enough patience to find them. Days turned into weeks. And the more Nathan learned, the more dangerous the situation appeared. Sophia wasn't just planning divorce. She was planning a complete takeover. The house. The insurance money. The savings. Everything. Nathan finally understood. The explosion wasn't random. It was only step 1. If it had worked, Sophia would have become wealthy overnight. Free from her marriage. Free to be with Brandon. Free to start a new life. A perfect ending. At least for her. One night, Nathan drove through the city alone. Rain tapped against the windshield. Streetlights reflected across wet pavement. His thoughts drifted toward Lily. She was the real victim. Not him. Her mother had lied. Her uncle had manipulated her. People she trusted had destroyed their family. And sooner or later she would learn everything. That thought hurt more than anything else. When Nathan finally returned home, the house was quiet. Sophia wasn't back yet. Another late meeting. Another lie. Nathan stood in the dark living room. Then he made a decision. A final one. He was done reacting. Done waiting. Done hoping people would do the right thing. Sophia had started this war. Brandon joined it. Derek helped fund it. And all of them believed Nathan was weak. Predictable. Easy to control. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Because Nathan finally had what he needed. Evidence. Proof. Motive. Opportunity. And most important of all, time. The next move belonged to him. And unlike his enemies, he wasn't planning to fail. Nathan stood by the window and watched headlights appear at the end of the street. Sophia's car. She pulled into the driveway. Completely unaware. Completely confident. Completely certain she was still in control. Nathan watched her step out of the vehicle. She smiled as she walked toward the house. A woman who believed her secrets were safe. A woman who believed her husband knew nothing. A woman who had no idea that everything she built was already beginning to collapse. Nathan turned away from the window. His expression remained calm. But deep inside, something powerful had awakened. The hunter had finally stopped running. And the people chasing him were about to discover a terrifying truth. They had targeted the wrong man. Nathan Carter spent the next several days preparing. Not rushing. Not panicking. Not making emotional mistakes. His enemies had spent months building their plan. Now it was his turn. And he intended to finish it. The first target was Brandon Cole. Brandon loved attention. He loved praise. He loved being the smartest man in every room. That weakness made him easy to predict. Nathan spent hours studying his routine. Every morning. Every meeting. Every habit. The more he learned, the more obvious it became. Brandon's greatest strength was also his greatest weakness. His ego. And Nathan planned to use it against him. A week later, Brandon arrived at the hospital expecting a normal day. Instead, chaos greeted him. Phones were ringing nonstop. Employees whispered in hallways. Managers rushed between offices. Something had happened. Something big. By lunchtime, Brandon discovered the problem. A private recording had surfaced online. A recording featuring him bragging about cheating with a married employee. A recording featuring him mocking patients. A recording featuring him speaking about money, status, and power as if ordinary people were beneath him. The reaction was immediate. People were furious. Board members demanded answers. Donors began asking questions. Staff members lost trust. Patients complained. Everything Brandon had spent years building started cracking apart. And the cracks kept growing. Nathan watched the fallout quietly. He didn't celebrate. Not yet. There was still more to do. Sophia and Derek remained untouched. For now. 3 days later, Derek received devastating news. Investigators had begun reviewing several of his business dealings. Property transfers. Building permits. Financial records. Documents. Signatures. The deeper officials looked, the worse things became. Derek had spent years cutting corners. Years assuming nobody would notice. Years believing he was too clever to get caught. Now every shortcut was coming back to haunt him. His phone rang constantly. Lawyers, banks, inspectors, creditors. Everyone wanted answers. Answers Derek couldn't provide. Meanwhile, Sophia became increasingly nervous. Nathan noticed it immediately. She checked her phone every few minutes. She struggled to sleep. She seemed distracted during conversations. The confidence she once carried was disappearing. Fear was replacing it. Because somewhere deep down she knew something was wrong. She just didn't know what yet. One evening she came home unusually early. Nathan sat at the kitchen table reading. Sophia entered slowly. Her face looked exhausted. Dark circles sat beneath her eyes. For several moments she simply stood there. Then she sat across from him. We need to talk. Nathan looked up calmly. Okay. Sophia took a deep breath. About us. Nathan remained silent. She continued. I think we've both made mistakes. Nathan almost laughed. Mistakes. That was certainly one way to describe attempted murder. We've grown apart, she said. I want to fix things. Still, Nathan said nothing. Sophia leaned forward. For Lily. The words hung in the air. For Lily. The same daughter she planned to take away from him. The same daughter she used as leverage in divorce papers. The same daughter she lied to every day. Nathan folded his hands. Then finally spoke. That's interesting. Sophia blinked. What is? You suddenly wanting to save our marriage. A nervous expression crossed her face. What does that mean? Nathan stared directly into her eyes. It means I'm curious. Her breathing slowed. Curious about what? Nathan's voice remained calm. At what point did you decide to kill me? The color disappeared from Sophia's face. Completely. For several seconds she couldn't speak. Her eyes widened. Her lips trembled. Nathan had never seen her look afraid before. Now she looked terrified. What? His expression never changed. The boiler explosion. Sophia swallowed. I don't know what you're talking about. The hidden camera. Silence. Nathan reached into his pocket. Then placed the tiny camera on the table. Sophia stared at it. Her face turned pale. Very pale. Nathan watched her carefully. The reaction told him everything. Everything. You tried to murder me. His voice was steady. controlled, dangerously calm. Sophia's eyes filled with panic. "You're crazy." "No." Nathan shook his head. "I'm finally paying attention." She pushed her chair back. "This is insane." Nathan didn't move. "The house transfer." Sophia froze. "The insurance policy." She stopped breathing for a moment. "The divorce papers." Tears appeared in her eyes. "The affair." Now she looked completely trapped. Because there was nowhere left to run. No lie left to tell. No excuse left to use. The truth surrounded her from every direction. "What do you want?" she whispered. Nathan leaned back. "The truth." Sophia began crying. Real tears. But Nathan felt nothing. Months earlier those tears might have affected him. Now they didn't. Not after everything she had done. Not after what she tried to take from him. Not after the pain she caused Lily. "You ruined everything," she whispered. Nathan stared at her. "No." His voice hardened. "You did." The words hit her like a slap. Because deep down she knew they were true. Every disaster. Every consequence. Every loss. She caused it herself. Not Nathan. At that moment, footsteps appeared on the stairs. Lily. She stopped halfway down. Her eyes moved between her parents. The room instantly became silent. Sophia looked at her daughter. "Lily." But Lily stepped back. A look of disappointment crossed her face. Not anger. Not sadness. Disappointment. And somehow that hurt Sophia more than anything else. "Is it true?" Lily asked quietly. Sophia opened her mouth. Then closed it again. No answer came. Because there was no answer. Only truth. And the truth was ugly. Very ugly. Lily looked toward Nathan. Then back at her mother. A tear rolled down her cheek. "I trusted you." Those 3 words shattered something inside Sophia. Nathan saw it happen. Saw the realization strike her. She had lost more than money. More than property. More than status. She had lost her daughter. A long silence followed. Finally, Sophia lowered her head. Defeated. Completely defeated. Nathan knew the fight was over. Not because she admitted guilt. Not because she confessed. Because she had nothing left. No allies. No plan. No future she could control. The game was finished. And she had lost. Later that night, Sophia packed her belongings. Suitcases filled the hallway. The house felt strangely quiet. Lily remained upstairs. She didn't come down. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't speak. That silence hurt Sophia more than any argument could have. As she carried her final bag outside, she paused. For a moment she looked back. At the home. At the family. At the life she destroyed. Then she climbed into her car. And drove away. Nathan stood by the window watching. Lily joined him. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally she broke the silence. "Is she really gone?" Nathan nodded. "Yes." Lily stared at the road. Then quietly said something Nathan would never forget. "I'd rather know the truth than live with lies." Nathan wrapped an arm around her shoulders. And together they watched the darkness swallow Sophia's car. The weeks that followed were difficult. But they were honest. For the first time in a long time there were no secrets. No hidden agendas. No late-night lies. No betrayal. Just healing. Slowly. One day at a time. Brandon lost his position at the hospital. His reputation collapsed. People who once praised him suddenly disappeared. His phone stopped ringing. Business opportunities vanished. The powerful executive who believed he controlled everything learned an important lesson. Power could disappear overnight. Derek faced investigations and lawsuits. Property deals fell apart. Money vanished. Partners walked away. Everything he built collapsed piece by piece. Just like the lives he tried to manipulate. And Sophia? Nobody seemed to know exactly where she went. Some said another city. Some said another state. Nathan never bothered finding out. It didn't matter. The chapter was over. 6 months later, life looked very different. One peaceful morning, Nathan sat on the front porch watching the sunrise. The sky glowed orange above the city. The air felt cool, calm, peaceful. A feeling he hadn't experienced in a very long time. His phone buzzed. A message from Victor. "Coffee before work?" Nathan smiled. Something's never changed. And that was a good thing. A short time later he met Victor at their favorite diner. They sat in their usual booth. Coffee steamed between them. Victor studied him for a moment. "You look better." Nathan laughed. "I feel better." Victor nodded. "Good." For a while they drank coffee in comfortable silence. Then Victor spoke again. Everything finally settled down? Nathan thought about the last 6 months. The betrayal. The lies. The investigation. The consequences. The healing. Then he nodded. Yeah. Victor smiled. Sometimes people create their own punishment. Nathan looked out the diner window. Workers headed toward job sites. Trucks rolled through traffic. The city continued moving forward. Just like life. Sometimes they do, Nathan agreed. Later, as Nathan drove to work, he thought about everything that had happened. He had learned painful lessons. Trust should be earned. Kindness should never be mistaken for weakness. And sometimes the people closest to you can become strangers. But he also learned something else. Something important. Strength wasn't about being loud. It wasn't about violence. It wasn't about revenge. Real strength was surviving betrayal without letting it destroy who you were. Real strength was protecting the people you loved. Real strength was standing back up when others wanted you buried. When Nathan arrived at work, he grabbed his tools and headed inside. Another normal day. Another honest day. Exactly what he wanted. As he walked through the building, he smiled. The old version of Nathan Carter was gone. The man who trusted blindly. The man who ignored warning signs. The man who believed love alone could protect him. That version had disappeared forever. In his place stood someone wiser, stronger, more careful. A man who would never again mistake manipulation for love. And never again allow anyone to threaten his family without consequences. Because sometimes surviving betrayal changes a person. Sometimes it reveals who they truly are. And sometimes, it turns the victim into the strongest person in the room.